Hello and welcome to another Wilderness Tamed video. Another pond dredging, it being autumn, etc. First time I've dealt with this pond and it pretty much needs a complete clear out. It's been many years apparently since it was last looked at. So I imagine, because it's overshadowed by several huge beech trees, a sycamore and an oak, and laurel and holly, willow. Anyway, there's a lot of leaves going into this pond every year, is what I'm trying to say in a long-winded way. So there's going to be quite a lot of sludge to dredge out, I imagine. I'm currently wearing Wellington boots, but I possibly might have to put on the waders later. I've no idea how deep this is, but first job is to clear around the margins so I can get around the pond easily and see what's what. Anyway, I'll crack on with that. But first, the all-important credits. So I'm going to come closer. In dredging out this perennial, whatever it is, I've never encountered it before. There's, 50-60 centimetres of their roots and associated sludge and decomposing leaves, etc. But I've actually got down, I can feel there's a rockwork on the bottom of the pond. I mean, there's a big boulder sticking out in the middle there as a kind of an island for frogs to sit on or something. So yeah, it's not, well, in the bits I've been wading around in, not deep, it's not coming over my wellies, my Wellington boots, which is good. But it's, as you can see, quite the effort to get this stuff out. But anyway, I'll crack on.
From a primordial world where scents defy reason, there exists a fragrance that will leave you questioning reality and your life choices. Be drawn into a forgotten time by an aroma you wish you could forget. Be the man every unicorn dreams of, with notes of midnight moonbeams and quantum physics. The fragrance that will have you smelling like the riddle that cannot be solved. Like, did something die nearby? Seduce her senses like a crossword puzzle in a thunderstorm. Why smell ordinary when you can smell like a dead amphibian in a neglected compost heap? Wear it and remain forever lonely. He's wearing sludge. Eau de pond. Pour homme.
And in all of that, not a single frog, tadpole, newt eft, dragonfly larvae, not much of anything, not even any evidence of pond snails, water boatmen, pond skaters, nothing. So that pond was pretty close to, well, it was into the early stages of succession, which is the process by which all ponds eventually want to turn into woodland, just by silting up vegetation, sucking out all the water, that vegetation gradually dying off as things like willow, alder start to encroach, and eventually just dries up, and as I say, it turns into a woodland at some point. So this is if you want to keep your ponds, it's in a fairly essential part of the maintenance program. So this has been a big sort of all-out dredge after many years of neglect. So in following years it shouldn't require that much work, I would hope. The intention would be from now on is for annual maintenance and probably just taking out a third of the vegetation that's in there. I'm going to suggest that the invasive perennial around the margins is totally eradicated. See, it's very shallow rooted by all accounts, from what I've witnessed, so it should be easy enough to just get out with a fork. Similar to ground elder, that sort of thing. But there's a lot of it, and it's obviously very late flowering. I mean, it's flowering now, and this is October 2023, for those of you working your way through time. But yeah, solid sort of cobbled block, stone cobbled base to the pond. I haven't quite fought my way through the very marginal vegetation yet to see what the edges are like. They might be stoned as well. I mean, like, have stones around them, not like Cheech and Chong stoned. So yeah, but I have left a little bit of marginal stuff, iris, to provide some shelter for whatever might be in there. As I say, I haven't sort of witnessed anything, and all that disturbance you would think stuff would appear, but absolutely nothing. So it just remains for me now to rake the stuff that I scythed from around the margins and getting it added to the piles that I've created. So the invasive plant that I mentioned growing around the pond is this, which looks suspiciously like a member of the Fallopia family, which I think is now the genus that they include the Russian vine and Japanese knotweed in. And looking at it, take away the flower, very, very similar in growth to Japanese knotweed, slightly zigzagging stem. Leaves are similar, slightly coarser, a bit bristly, and this quite nice colouring on the underside. Flowers are small, pinky white, pink buds, white flowers, bit of an aroma but not much. The stem is more reminiscent of the dreaded Himalayan balsam, so a bit sort of rhubarby, and at every joint there's a new cluster of roots or leaves and flowers just waiting to burst forth, and it's got that sort of classic hollow stemmed, wet, crunchy sound that Himalayan balsam has, and feel as well. And then of course the roots, as I mentioned, very shallow rooted, but you can see little buds, so this has been in contact with the ground from this point onwards, and at every point where it's in the ground, roots have emerged from these nodes. And the node, N-O-D-E, is the sort of section compartmentalizing each length of stem, where these dormant buds and dormant roots lie in wait for the first contact with moisture, and off they go. So as these stems grow and then collapse under their own weight and come into contact with the ground, the plant is spreading that way. But also I did find a segment of root where a new offshoot was budding, a new stem from down here, which was also covered in roots. So they, even if you cut that off and remove the top bit of growth, all of that would regenerate. So yeah, I will pick those up. I'm not going to leave them to grow somewhere else. Yeah, definitely needs controlling, as do the two plants I mentioned before. With three plants, Russian vine, hideous thing, gets way out of control. Big mistake to put in a garden situation on a trellis or a fence. Oh, there's a wasp. It's the spider, isn't it? Come on, if I look like an idiot and I've got bugs hanging off me, at least mention it discreetly. It's down in here like a lemon. Oh yeah. I take back what I said about there being no signs of life in this pond. After all that disturbance. I hope you've enjoyed that. Think of subscribing, tickling the bell icon, and waiting tensely for the next one.